Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Threatcast. Today we'll be discussing why Microsoft may have purchased LinkedIn, or rather, why they purchased LinkedIn, the cybersecurity talent gap, and how the Pentagon asked people to hack them, got people to hack them, and is using that data to build up their defenses. So let's kick it off, as always, with a quick introduction. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Paul.
Yep. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Swimmingly. So, hello, Adam.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Swimmingly.
You can't. No, I already used that.
That's my meme, man. Just go with it.
Don't say that in English. All right. So let's start off. Let's start with Microsoft buying LinkedIn. On Monday, I think that was the 13th, Microsoft purchased LinkedIn for about $26 billion. It's a lot of money, and it's one of the largest acquisitions in the history of tech, as you could probably guess. Now, I think it's a good time to buy LinkedIn because their stock has gone down over the past year, and it reported losses last year. But why do it, right? Like, why do you guys think they purchased LinkedIn? Is it for the giant amount of data there? Is it to link to other services? Microsoft, like a lot of other large organizations like Apple with the Apple Watch, sometimes they make or buy things because they think it's the right idea, but it could be poor judgment. Why do you guys think they bought LinkedIn?
My theory is they saw the barn-burning success that Google Plus has been for Google, and they got really jealous. And they said, hey, we need LinkedIn because it's for overachiever professionals.
Mm.
And it's a terrible vector at that now too.
So do you guys use LinkedIn for anything besides, well,
ignoring recruiters?
Yeah, I don't know, like what value have you guys gotten out of LinkedIn?
It's good for job searching.
But like compared to other job sites like Indeed or
It's different,
or
right?
whatever.
So for me, LinkedIn is I'm friends with rando bears, and they will point on there and they'll say, hey, we're opening up a job for X. And if I don't want to be a janitorial engineer, then maybe that job's not for me. But if they do post something with someone that I like working with, then I might consider that more than just trolling different websites constantly trying to find a job.
Can you define rando bear?
Rando bear is anyone that you one time talked to and you said, I would like to be connected to you on LinkedIn. And so you say, you're important to me. Please accept my love.
Why are they a bear?
What about the people you've never talked to that requested?
Yeah, where are they?
I don't accept them.
All right.
It's mean.
Mark, how about yourself? Do you use it often?
I check it every once in a while, and I really just hit accept to whoever, and then I most likely ignore all of the messages I get.
Are you upset that Microsoft bought them?
No, but I don't understand it.
So their CEO quoted, or they said on Monday, quote, this combination will make it possible for new experiences such as the LinkedIn newsfeed that serves up articles based on the project you are working on in Office, suggesting maybe an expert to connect with via LinkedIn to help with a task you're trying to complete.
That seems very sketchy.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a thing. So if they're trying to think of like developers trying to use, hey, I'm having this issue with well, first off, developers don't work in Office products, but like something akin to that, I don't think it's going to work like that, especially with LinkedIn. It's not really, like when I go on LinkedIn and I see people posting articles, it's usually top 10 ways to, not be tired today. It's not really technical articles, questions, and answers.
Well,
I think kind of like how they're now integrating Skype into the workforce and basically rebranding Link as Skype.
Mm.
I mean, I could see them trying to do something like that and then getting into, like, essentially getting LinkedIn at the enterprise level of all the companies, so all the workers have to use it then too. To then go into what you were saying about, hey, whatever project or thing you're working on, here's other people that are doing it. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be forced, just like Skype.
Yeah, but as soon as organizations realize that Microsoft is posting their projects that you're working on Office
Right,
to the internet,
right.
that line shuts down immediately.
Well, they just made Skype be able to talk to anybody outside your organization as well, I believe.
Right,
It's just so weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
think the Skype was the beginning portion of it, and now this LinkedIn, they're gonna try and manipulate it somehow to make it kind of evolve into that.
Like they have this cloud strategy over the past couple years, and they want to link that to a professional world or something. And I just, especially with the example they gave, I don't understand still. I don't see the big picture, especially not for what was it, $26 billion. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
there's no competitor to LinkedIn right now.
That might be for a reason.
Right. Well, I think obviously a vast majority of LinkedIn's people are not technical, right? They're in other fields because we just see the cyber part.
Okay.
And maybe it's used more proficiently in other fields, but in our fields, it's just people liking news articles that talk about your company.
So what would Microsoft want out of that?
I mean, even if they just got the user base and they can track where people are working at any given time, that's valuable. I don't know, it's $26 billion valuable, but it's knowing, they know all their competitors, they know potential talent to pick up. They can do market trends and say, here's the latest statistic from LinkedIn that LinkedIn
Gross.
wasn't doing previously, right?
Gross. I still don't see it. I still don't see the worth here.
Well,
Maybe someone out there knows the real reason, and they can chime in.
Or they can't because they're not allowed.
Ooh.
That's all right. No one listens.
You guys got anything else for this?
I'm squared away.
Cool.
No, I'm pretty good.
All right, let's jump to the next one. According to the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, or ISACA, many companies need, or at least found, that they need 6+ months to find qualified security candidates. So this comes at a time when businesses are struggling to keep pace with cyber attacks and technology improvements as exploits become more frequent. Now, why is this? Like, could the need for cybersecurity professionals outweigh the current education of how many people are coming out of the education force? Is this not something that's focused on? Are companies still asking for like a one person does all kind of information technology handler? So, hey, I'm going to do the administration and the security. What's going on here?
So it's a couple things, right? Like every organization sees, the headline makers, and they say, well, that's not going to be us, and so we want candidates. But they don't want candidates out of school, even though they're paying, according to the market, below market rates. They're saying we want everyone to have 3 to 5 years, even when they're out of school. So when they say we don't have enough qualified candidates, they need to readjust what a qualified candidate is. And you also need to know the market well enough to say, like, we're in a global marketplace. You can't say, I can't find anyone in, St. Louis who has 3 to 5 years and is willing to take X amount of dollars per year.
Do you think that the education environment that you are currently aware of teaches people that could come out of the workforce, even though they don't have experience with cybersecurity, they understand the concepts and would be able to jump into a organization and take over? Because I do not, just because it's just such a tool focused.
Right.
I don't know.
So
There's too many caveats.
That's actually like the first thing I noticed when, I started into the cybersecurity stuff, because when you and I went to school, Paul, we learned forensics, and that was it. And, I thought that was what security was and everything. And then, coming into the security world, especially like the SOC world now, it's a little bit of everything. And I don't know if the curriculums have changed, but definitely what we went through would not have prepared us, I don't think.
Yeah.
As extensively as like we're doing now.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mark. Emerging from bachelor's, I was ready to write, a basic Java program or an Ada program, because, that's helpful if I want to make microwaves.
And Java.
And then coming out of the master's, I was really good at cryptography, which I have yet to see a job posting for that. So
Go to the NSA.
I could.
Don't do that.
I won't. So, the schools don't know what to teach And even if they did, there's not like a clear, if you know statistics, you study all of these things, and now you know statistics the way everyone else does.
And now you're a data analyst.
Yeah, now you're
an analyst, right?
Yeah, and then if
you're an analytic,
get that data scientist. But with cybersecurity, it's such a broad field that like you can get. We routinely see kids coming out of cybersecurity programs, and you say, okay, well, let's pass the hash, and they can't answer the question, right?
How do we?
I think a lot of it now is like they're all master's programs, but I personally have never really looked into them, so I don't know how extensive they are.
Well,
but they're all like network security, I guess, or I don't know.
Right, they go a mile deep on something very academic.
Yes.
And that's exactly what Mark and I went through. So it's interesting because like again, it's very tool focused. It's kind of just getting hands on, and that's stuff you don't get exposure to in the current educational environment. But I don't know if that's the entire story here. Like, are the requirements too heavy for people coming in, or are they asking too much, or is there just?
Well, so I think there's a lot to be said for the reputation of the organization you're going to. So yeah, like the small regional stores or small regional places in, the smaller cities are going to have a hard time getting somebody with 5 to 9 years of cybersecurity experience. And so that's got to skew the numbers dramatically. But even in New York, DC area, it's hard finding people just because the schools only pump out so many. And at least in my master's program, there was 3 people in about 30 who were in the country 2 years after they graduated. The rest of the students went back home.
So, and here's the problem. So you mentioned that like the smaller retail or smaller organizations, right? They're not going to have the budget just for a security professional. Right. That security professional again is going to need to do the architecture. They're going to need to do the administration. They're going to have to perform. They're going to wear a lot of hats, and because they're small, they don't have the budget to afford someone that will be like, okay, I'll do everything for you. It's just I don't know how they can afford to hire someone.
Well, and with negative unemployment rate in cybersecurity, you're competing with everyone around you, and there's so much remote delivery jobs that I can easily work for a company in DC, hypothetically.
That's true.
So what do you think schools should do?
I think schools should focus on 2 to 3 items and kind of go over a lot of it, right? So they should go into basic networking, basic hardware architecture, go into how attacks typically happen. But that means they have to completely overhaul and refresh all of their materials every couple of years. And that doesn't seem a forte for schools, because how many fields do you have to do that, right? Like sciences you have to, math you might have to at some point, but you can have a history book now and it's going to be slightly different than a history book in 10 years. And the same people can teach it. And it goes back to a previous podcast on the Threatcast, where the teachers aren't up on it. And so I would be interested to see how many, college educators can tell you what the emerging threat in malware is right now.
Yeah, it's like a lot of increasingly evolving capabilities. It's very difficult to create a program because you can lay that foundation, and you can make sure that the student has the logical approach to understanding new concepts, and that's probably the best approach, because once they get into the real world and hey, there's a new there's a new type of malware that does a new type of thing, or there's a new tool, or there's a million different security appliances that you need, you're not going to be able to know all those coming out of school. You have to be able to understand how to approach them realistically, and I think that's a way they can teach. It's just difficult how.
But if you look at what the market values, right, there's no reason, if an 18-year-old said, I want to get a job in cybersecurity, I'd say get a bachelor's in the field, so information technology, information security, whatever, and emerge with your BABI CISSP. And everything you need to know in your CISSP will be used at some point. Other than, don't store all your data centers below water level. But like that's a pretty good barometer of what the industry is looking for in a professional emerging from college. And I didn't know CSSP was a thing until my last year of undergrad. That would have been much better than any of the classes I took. I enjoyed my classes. I learned a lot, like the basics, but I didn't know anything about networking when I emerged from my bachelor's.
So finally today, the Pentagon is building up their defenses after their successful Hack the Pentagon program, very creative, which was originally noted as the first cyber bug bounty program, again, creative, in the history of the federal government. So essentially they invited hackers to take up the challenge of finding bugs in its network. Essentially it's public-facing websites, so not necessarily like super sensitive things, but stuff that the public can get to, right? So they were permitted to hack the agency's web properties, but critical and highly sensitive systems of the Pentagon were out of bounds, right? And more than 100 vulnerabilities were uncovered by the hackers in this challenge. I think it was maybe 2 to 3 months. The Pentagon didn't really specify what the vulnerabilities were. That would be fantastic if they did. But should this be a common occurrence, especially in like the DoD, Department of Defense area?
Here's my big problem. They might have found all of these, but they're not going to get patched for like 5 years.
That's correct.
It's the government.
No.
It's not going to matter.
So
none of this shit's going to get patched.
Along the lines of Mark's comment, I've been called jaded before. The people who are trying to patch these 100 vulnerabilities are the ones who put them in place to begin with.
Ooh.
There's probably like server, like 2000s or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
2000s. That's not even a thing, but it probably exists in the government.
They have their own distro.
2003.
What if someone goes rogue?
Well, I mean, they could have gone rogue outside of this month of hackathon, right?
You don't know that.
Oh, okay.
Is this like a good interview process though? Like, do you think they would be using this to be like, hey, come in, show me what you got, but then like
100% yes. Like,
but
in 9 months when they reach back out to the guy when they decide to start patching things?
Well,
they say,
that's optimistic.
We don't know how to patch this. Can you give us a hand? How about we don't throw you in prison for it?
Jesus, no, come on. I think this is a...
They'll probably find him in the new Microsoft Office LinkedIn collaboration.
Oh. Yo, dog, I heard you were talking about vulnerabilities.
Look, if the government is serious about making sure that their old, crappy, exploitable systems are identified, this is the quickest way to do it. Now... if they want to get to the critical and highly sensitive systems, they're going to have to hire the people that showed the most promise. But are those people actually going to be like, okay, give me a job? It's the government. They're not going to.
No, but they'll do it on contract, right? Like, if you say $15,000 to find it was the $15,000 to find what they consider a critical vulnerability, right? If you throw them 5 more, they can tell you how they got there.
Okay. So if you hire me on contract,
yep,
and I need to go through clearances and all that crap, what's to stop me from coming in and mapping out all their highly sensitive systems, and then 5 years later, because they haven't patched or updated anything in that time period, I sell that information. It can possibly be mapped back to me or not because it's been 5 years.
Well, but they didn't give them. This is only from the outside facing, right? There was no special credentials that they were provided.
What if they hire me?
But they're hacks in, man.
What if they hire me after, the first round and they're like, hey, come in on contract. You're going to go in and test out these more sensitive systems.
Well, that's why they have background checks, right? Like, this is going to be the problem for everyone who's ever applied for the Pentagon jobs.
It's an inherent trust. I mean, you have to trust the employee you're hiring not to do that.
Do you trust me? Do you trust me?
That's why I don't hire you.
Oh, okay.
Who works for who here?
Aww.
I don't know. I like the approach, even though it's very, very blunt.
Well, but this is done in the civil space all the time.
Well, here's what. Let's hold on. If it's government, there's going to be some like really old hardware and probably old version software and all that. It's probably all end of life, and there's probably not getting updates to a lot of things. that they found. So everything is just going to have to be overhauled and bought brand new hardware.
So are you saying what's the point of actually doing this?
I'm not saying what's the point, because that could be the driving factor to do the purchase, to upgrade everything like hardware-wise.
So just a use case saying, all right, we have all these problems, and we can fix them, or we can go ahead and spend 20 years to implement something that'll be outdated by the time we implement it.
That is a very good point. I think about that. Yeah, like...
Yes.
I think it's overall good. Like, you can't berate them for doing this. This is going to be the cheapest pen test they've ever paid for.
Right.
And they might get really good people to do it. They might hire people to fix it. Like, this is only positive. The question is, why did it take until 2016 for them to say we should consider doing what every other red team in every organization in the world does?
Well, that's a silly question. You know why.
Sorry. Thanks.
Why?
Thanks, Obama.
Why? Because, in the realm of cybersecurity technology in general, the government's always behind. Like you said, 2003 servers, XP machines. You got too much legacy software that's specifically built for them, and then they just can't get off of it.
On Chinese chips, is that suspicious? You don't know.
We're gonna go deep here.
APT.
Real deep. Cool. Any other thoughts on the Pentagon and their Hack the Pentagon program? Do you propose that they continue doing this like annually, or?
Yes, and they should give us T-shirts.
T-shirts, nice little swag bags.
Yeah, like maybe some flash
I
drives.
Hack the Pentagon.
Yeah, some flash drives to take with them.
Oh Jesus!
So then the people get hacked.
The people that would wear those shirts would be the people that partake in this.
That's correct.
Well, yeah, because they'd get the shirt.
That's a good point. I would do it just to get the T-shirt. I hacked the Pentagon, and all I got was this stupid T-shirt. Okay.
And 20 years in federal prison.
That's gonna do it for this week's Threatcast. This is Paul, and with me, Adam and Mark. I hope you have a lovely, lovely, lovely week or month, or whenever you listen to the next one.
Well, they're going to be in the week and the month, right? They don't really get the choice between the two. But have a good one or whatever you choose.
Goodbye, everyone.